Listen carefully. The loudest leader in the room is usually the weakest. Real power does not shout. It does not explain. It does not react. This audiobook will teach you how to lead from silence, how to command respect without raising your voice, how to control outcomes without emotional movement, and how to become the person whose calm presence alone sets direction. If you are tired of reacting, tired of proving, tired of losing leverage through emotion, then stay, because the unreactive leader always wins. Every reaction costs you something. Every emotional spike gives something away. And most people don't even realize what they're handing over. Power is not taken from you. It is given away through reaction. You react with your face. You react with your voice. You react with your tone, your speed, your defensiveness. And in that moment, leadership leaves your body. You have a choice. You always have a choice. React or remain in control. That's the key. The first person to react is no longer leading. Think about it. When someone insults you and you snap back, who is in control? When pressure rises and you rush to respond, who sets the tempo? When chaos appears and you emotionally move with it, who's actually directing the outcome? Not you. Reaction hands control to others. Calm keeps authority internal. This is not philosophy. This is mechanics. Leaders who react emotionally become predictable. Predictable leaders are easy to manipulate, easy to provoke, easy to steer. If someone knows how to trigger you, they own you. You don't need their permission to stay calm. You don't need their approval to remain steady. You don't need to respond just because something was said. That's the illusion most people live inside. They think reaction equals strength. They think speed equals competence. They think emotional expression equals authenticity. It's not about expression. It's about discipline. It's not about being loud. It's about being unmovable. You have a choice. Most people react because they feel threatened. Threatened by being disrespected, threatened by being misunderstood, threatened by losing status. So they explain, they justify, they defend, and every explanation shrinks them. That's the key. Power does not defend itself. Power does not rush. Power does not emotionally negotiate. The unreactive leader understands something others don't. Time is leverage. The moment you pause, you reclaim control. The moment you don't react, the pressure shifts outward. The moment you stay still, others begin to reveal themselves. The first person to react is no longer leading. Watch any negotiation. Watch any conflict. Watch any high-stakes conversation. The calmest person always wins. Not because they're smarter, not because they're louder, but because they're not leaking power through emotion. You have a choice. When someone challenges you, you can respond instantly, or you can pause and let the silence work. When someone tests you, you can emotionally engage, or you can observe without movement. When stress rises, you can mirror the chaos, or you can remain grounded and force the room to adjust. That's the key. Reaction is a habit, and like any habit, it can be broken. But first, you must see the cost. Every reaction teaches people how to treat you. Every emotional outburst sets a precedent. Every rushed response lowers your perceived authority. You may think you're standing up for yourself. In reality, you're signaling instability. Leaders don't need to prove anything. They demonstrate through restraint. You don't need their permission to pause. You don't need their approval to think. You don't need their permission to stay quiet. Silence is not weakness. It is containment, and containment is power. Here's the discipline you must adopt starting now. When something triggers you, stop. Do nothing, say nothing, move nothing. Feel the urge to react, notice it, then refuse to obey it. You have a choice. That pause is where leadership lives. That pause is where authority forms. That pause is where you separate yourself from everyone else. Most people live in stimulus and response. Leaders live in stimulus and choice. That's the key. It's not about suppressing emotion, it's about mastering it. It's not about being cold, it's about being controlled. It's not about winning the moment, it's about owning the situation. The first person to react is no longer leading. Let that sentence burn into you. Repeat it. Use it as a filter. Before you speak, before you reply, before you fire off that message, ask yourself, am I reacting or am I leading? Because reacting feels good in the short term, leading feels powerful in the long term, and power always compounds. You will notice something strange when you stop reacting. People slow down. They become unsure. They adjust their tone. Why? Because they were expecting movement, and you gave them stillness. Stillness forces others to reveal intent. Emotion hides it. That's the key. Unreactive leaders don't get dragged into emotional exchanges. They let others exhaust themselves. They don't chase understanding. They allow misunderstanding to expose insecurity. They don't rush to be heard. They wait, and when they speak, it lands. You have a choice. Right now, most of your problems are not caused by others. They're caused by your reactions to others. Remove the reaction, and half the problem disappears. This is where your transformation begins. Not with better words, not with sharper arguments, but with restraint. From this moment forward, you practice one discipline above all else. Do not react immediately. Pause. Breathe. Hold your posture. Hold your face. Hold your power. You don't need their permission. The leader who controls themselves cannot be controlled by others. And once you master this, once you stop reacting, you'll notice something else emerging. Silence. A different kind of silence. One that unsettles others. One that creates gravity. You mastered your reaction. Now it's time to weaponize it.
Silence scares people. Not noise, not confrontation. Silence. Because silence removes feedback. Silence removes reassurance. Silence removes control. And when people lose control, they start to reveal themselves. That's the key. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. Most people misunderstand this completely. They think silence means hesitation. They think silence means uncertainty. They think silence means you have nothing to say. Wrong. Silence means you are not leaking information. Silence means you are not reacting emotionally. Silence means you are forcing the other side to move first. You have a choice. You can fill every gap with words, or you can let the gap do the work for you. Silence makes others work. Watch what happens when you stop talking. The other person shifts. They fidget. They start explaining. They start justifying. They start oversharing. Why? Because silence creates psychological discomfort, and humans rush to relieve discomfort even at their own expense. Leaders understand this. Followers fear it. The moment you pause instead of responding, the dynamic changes. The moment you don't rush to fill the space, you gain leverage. The moment you hold silence, the room begins to orbit you. That's the key. Leaders who pause control the tempo. Tempo of conversations, tempo of negotiations, tempo of decisions. Fast tempo favors emotion. Slow tempo favors power. You don't need their permission to slow things down. You don't need their permission to think. You don't need their permission to let silence stretch. Most people speak to relieve their own anxiety. Leaders stay quiet to observe others. That's the difference. It's not about being quiet. It's about being intentional. It's not about weakness. It's about discipline. Silence makes others work. When someone challenges you and you immediately respond, you're playing their game. When someone pressures you and you instantly explain, you're following their tempo. When someone provokes you and you react, you've already lost leverage. You have a choice. Pause or perform. Silence creates a mirror. People start talking into it, and what comes out is rarely controlled. This is how leaders gather information without asking questions. This is how they detect insecurity, manipulation, and bluffing. This is how they see clearly. Because emotion hides truth. Silence exposes it. That's the key. Think about powerful figures you've encountered. They didn't rush. They didn't babble. They didn't fill space unnecessarily. They let others speak. They listened. They waited. And when they spoke, it mattered. You don't need their permission to speak less. You don't need their permission to say nothing. You don't need their permission to let silence hang. Here's the discipline you must practice. When asked a question, pause. When challenged, pause. When pressured, pause. Not because you're afraid, but because you're in control. Silence is not avoidance. It is positioning. Silence is not retreat. It is posture. Silence is not submission. It is dominance without noise. Silence makes others work. You'll notice something important when you start using silence deliberately. People start filling the space with concessions. They clarify their stance without being asked. They soften their tone. Why? Because they feel the pressure, and pressure forces movement. You have a choice. You can talk your way into losing leverage, or you can stay silent and let leverage come to you. It's not about clever words, it's about timing. It's not about sounding smart, it's about not sounding desperate. It's not about winning arguments, it's about controlling outcomes. That's the key. Silence slows impulsive decisions. Silence gives you time to assess. Silence keeps your emotions from hijacking your authority. Most people speak to feel powerful. Leaders stay silent because they are powerful. When you rush to respond, you reveal need. When you pause, you reveal stability. And stability is leadership currency. Silence makes others work. This doesn't mean you never speak. It means you speak last. It means you speak deliberately. It means when you do speak, it lands with weight. Words gain value when they are scarce. You don't need their permission to withhold commentary. You don't need their permission to stay neutral. You don't need their permission to let silence hang. Here's what you must stop doing immediately. Stop filling silence because it feels uncomfortable. Stop explaining to relieve tension. Stop reacting just to prove engagement. That's not leadership. That's anxiety management. And anxiety always leaks power. You have a choice. Sit in silence or give away control. When you choose silence, you're not passive, you're strategic. You're saying, without words, I'm not moved, I'm not rushed, I'm not pressured. And that message is loud. That's the key. Silence is a test. Most people fail it. Leaders pass it by staying still. As you practice this, you'll notice something important. Conversations slow down. People measure their words around you. Your presence starts to carry weight. Not because you demand it, but because silence demands attention. Silence makes others work. This is how unreactive leaders multiply their power. They don't add force, they remove noise. And once you understand silence, you unlock the next level of leadership. Because silence only works when it's supported by something deeper, something internal, something unshakable. You've learned how to stop reacting. You've learned how to use silence as pressure. Now it's time to master what holds it all together.
You can be intelligent. You can be strategic. You can be charismatic and still lose. Because without emotional control, everything collapses. Intelligence collapses under pressure. Strategy collapses under stress. Charisma collapses under provocation. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. Emotional control is not a soft skill. It is the leadership skill. If they can move your emotions, they control you. That's the key. Look closely at your past mistakes, not the surface-level ones, the real ones. They didn't happen because you lacked knowledge. They happened because you lost control of yourself. You spoke when you should have paused. You reacted when you should have stayed still. You made decisions while emotionally charged. and emotion is a terrible decision maker. You have a choice. You can let emotions drive you, or you can lead over them. High-pressure leaders win for one reason. They stay internally still while everything outside is moving. Chaos around them, noise around them, urgency around them, stillness inside. That's the difference. If they can move your emotions, they control you. Most people are easy to control, not because they're weak, but because they are reactive. Praise moves them, criticism moves them, pressure moves them, fear moves them, and whoever moves you leads you. That's the key. Leadership begins the moment you stop being emotionally draggable. It's not about having no emotions, it's about not being ruled by them. It's not about suppressing anger, it's about not acting from it. It's not about avoiding fear, it's about not letting fear choose your behavior. You have a choice. Every moment of pressure asks the same question: who's in control right now? Your emotions or you? Most people answer without thinking. They raise their voice, they speed up, they defend, they explain, and just like that, they lose authority. If they can move your emotions, they control you. That's why emotional discipline is power. Think of the leaders who dominate high-stakes environments: executives, commanders, negotiators. They are not the most emotional people in the room. They are the most regulated. They don't spike, they don't crash, they don't swing wildly. They remain steady. That steadiness becomes gravity. Others begin to orient around it. That's the key. Emotional control does not mean emotional numbness. It means emotional containment. You feel it, but you don't broadcast it. You notice it, but you don't obey it. You don't need their permission to feel nothing on your face. You don't need their permission to slow your breath. You don't need their permission to remain neutral. Here is the discipline you must build. When emotion rises, delay action. When pressure increases, slow down. When provoked, do less. Less movement, less speech, less reaction. That's leadership under fire. If they can move your emotions, they control you. Understand this clearly. People will test your emotional control, intentionally. They will criticize you, interrupt you, challenge you publicly, push your buttons, not always to defeat you, but to see if you are stable. And the moment you react emotionally, they learn something dangerous. You can be moved. That's the key. So you must train yourself to hold emotional posture. Here's how that looks in real life. Your heart rate rises, your jaw tightens, your mind wants to fire back. You pause. You breathe slower than the situation demands. You keep your voice low. You keep your face neutral. And you say only what's necessary. That's not weakness. That's dominance through control. It's not about winning the exchange. It's about owning the environment. You have a choice. React and feel powerful for 5 seconds, or regulate and stay powerful long-term. Short-term relief is expensive. Long-term control compounds. If they can move your emotions, they control you. Emotional control also protects your thinking. Strong emotions narrow perception. They shorten time horizons. They push you into survival mode. Leadership requires the opposite: wide perception, long horizons, strategic thinking. You cannot think clearly while emotionally flooded. That's why calm leaders see opportunities others miss. That's why they make fewer mistakes. That's why they are trusted with more responsibility, because people feel safe around regulated leaders. That's the key. Safety is influence. Stability is authority. No one follows emotional volatility for long. You don't need their permission to regulate yourself. You don't need their permission to pause before deciding. You don't need their permission to step back internally.
Now, here's what you must stop doing. Stop justifying emotional reactions by calling them passion. Stop calling impulsive behavior authentic. Stop excusing lack of control as stress. It's not about passion, it's about discipline. It's not about authenticity, it's about regulation. It's not about stress, it's about training. You have a choice. Every day, every interaction, every moment of pressure, you are either practicing emotional mastery or practicing emotional weakness. There is no neutral. If they can move your emotions, they control you. So you train. You train by noticing triggers. You train by delaying response. You train by staying composed when it's hardest. That's how leaders are built. Not in comfort, in pressure. And as your emotional control strengthens, something changes. People stop trying to provoke you. They stop pushing as hard. They start adjusting themselves. Because unmovable people are difficult to manipulate. That's the key. Emotional control is silent authority. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't explain itself. It is felt. You mastered reaction. You learned silence. Now you are learning regulation. But there is one more behavior that destroys emotional control faster than anything else. One habit that exposes insecurity immediately. One pattern that drains authority. You've seen it. You've probably done it. Now it's time to eliminate it.
Every explanation has a cost. Every justification leaks authority. Every extra sentence invites challenge. Most people don't see it, but leaders feel it immediately. Over-explaining is not clarity, it's insecurity wearing the mask of logic. That's the key. Strong leaders give direction. Weak leaders give explanations. Clarity commands. Explanation weakens. Look at your own behavior. When do you explain the most? When you feel misunderstood. When you feel judged. When you feel your authority slipping. That's not coincidence. You explain when you're seeking approval. You justify when you're trying to be accepted. You overtalk when you're afraid of resistance. You have a choice. Lead or persuade. Persuasion sounds intelligent. Leadership sounds simple. Because leadership doesn't need agreement to function. That's the key. When you explain yourself, you're asking a question without realizing it. You're asking, is this okay? You're asking, do you accept this? You're asking, can I proceed? And the moment you ask, authority shifts. You don't need their permission to be brief. You don't need their permission to stop after one sentence. You don't need their permission to let silence follow direction. Silence after clarity is powerful. Silence says, this stands. Over-explaining says, this can be challenged. Clarity commands. Explanation weakens. Here's the discipline you must practice. Before you speak, ask, what is the minimum amount of words required? Say only that, then stop. Let discomfort sit. Let silence stretch. Let others process without being spoon-fed reassurance. That's leadership. Most people fear that silence. They rush to fill it with logic, emotion, or context. But silence is not confusion. Silence is authority holding space. That's the key. Now understand this. Explaining feels productive. It feels responsible. It feels mature. But often it's just emotional leakage. You're trying to manage how others feel about your decision. That's not leadership. That's people-pleasing at a higher level. You have a choice. Be respected or be liked. You can't optimize for both in moments of leadership. Strong leaders accept this early. They don't justify boundaries. They don't explain standards. They enforce them calmly. Clarity commands. Explanation weakens. This doesn't mean you never explain why. It means you don't explain to be accepted. There's a difference. Explanation after authority is teaching. Explanation before authority is negotiation, and negotiation without leverage is surrender. That's the key. Notice when you start stacking reasons, one reason, then another, then another. You think you're strengthening your case, you're actually signaling uncertainty. If your direction is sound, it doesn't need padding. You don't need their permission to trust your judgment. You don't need their permission to hold a line. You don't need their permission to stop talking. Here's what you must stop doing immediately. Stop explaining decisions that are already made. Stop defending boundaries that are already set. Stop justifying standards that are already clear. Say it once, say it clean, then let it stand. That's leadership economy. Every word saved increases weight. Clarity commands, explanation weakens. When you reduce explanation, something interesting happens. People start listening more carefully. They ask better questions. They respect the structure. Because you're not begging for agreement anymore. You're setting direction. That's the key. Over time, this changes how people interact with you. They stop testing as much. They stop pushing for emotional reassurance. They start adjusting themselves. Why? Because you are no longer negotiating your authority. You're embodying it. You have a choice. Explain yourself into exhaustion or lead with simplicity and calm. The unreactive leader doesn't argue for power. They occupy it. And once you stop explaining, you unlock something deeper. A presence that doesn't need words at all. A reputation that speaks before you do. You've stopped reacting. You've learned silence. You've mastered emotional control. You've ended unnecessary explanation. Now it's time to understand what happens when you do less and are watched more.
Noise hides. Stillness reveals. The louder you are, the less people study you. The quieter you become, the more attention you attract. That's the paradox of leadership. What is quiet is watched. People don't closely observe the loudest person in the room. They already know what that person will do: react, talk, perform. Predictable behavior doesn't require attention. But calm, stillness, restraint, that makes people lean in. That's the key. People study quiet leaders more closely than loud ones because quiet leaders are not giving themselves away. No emotional leaks, no verbal spills, no unnecessary movement. So people watch. They read posture. They read timing. They read facial control. And slowly, something forms. Authority. Stillness creates mystery. Mystery creates authority. You have a choice. Be loud and obvious, or be quiet and compelling. Most people choose loud because they want to be seen. Leaders choose quiet because they are seen. That's the key. When you stop reacting, stop explaining, and stop filling silence, people start observing you as a reference point. They ask themselves, how is he responding? Why isn't she reacting? What does this mean? And when others begin measuring themselves against you, leadership has already begun. What is quiet is watched. Quiet leaders don't chase attention. Attention follows them. Because unpredictability demands focus. Not chaotic unpredictability, composed unpredictability. People don't know when you'll speak. They don't know how you'll respond. They don't know what you'll tolerate. So they watch. That's the key. Stillness is not absence. It is concentration. Quiet leaders are not disengaged. They are contained. They don't broadcast emotion. They don't advertise intention. They don't narrate their thinking. They let others do the guessing. And guessing gives you leverage. You don't need their permission to be observed. You don't need their permission to say less.
You don't need their permission to let your presence speak. Most people misunderstand observation. They think being watched means being judged, so they perform, they over-explain, they fill space. That's insecurity. Leaders accept observation calmly. They don't rush to manage impressions. They let consistency speak over time. That's the key. When you are quiet and consistent, people begin to trust your steadiness. Not because you demanded it, because they studied it. Every interaction becomes a data point. Every pause becomes evidence. Every non-reaction becomes proof. What is quiet is watched. This is why quiet leaders feel heavy, why their presence shifts rooms, why people adjust behavior around them. Because observation creates meaning, and meaning creates authority. You have a choice. Perform leadership or embody it. Embodiment requires patience. You don't rush to prove yourself. You don't rush to speak. You don't rush to assert dominance. You let others discover it. That's the key. Here's how this works in real life. You enter a room. You don't announce yourself. You take your place calmly. You listen more than you speak. You observe dynamics. You note who reacts and who regulates. People notice. Not consciously at first, but subconsciously. They start adjusting tone. They wait for your response. They check your reaction before committing. Leadership has shifted. What is quiet is watched. Stillness also exposes others. Loud people expose insecurity through noise. Reactive people expose weakness through emotion. Quiet leaders expose everything without doing anything. Because when you don't move, others fill the space. They talk more. They justify more. They reveal more. And you see clearly. That's the key. Observation is power because it gives you information without revealing yourself. You don't need their permission to observe. You don't need their permission to withhold reaction. You don't need their permission to remain unreadable. Unreadable leaders are difficult to manipulate. Most people reveal themselves too quickly. They show excitement. They show anger. They show fear. Quiet leaders reveal only what they choose. It's not about secrecy. It's about discipline. It's not about hiding. It's about containing. That's the key. Now here's the discipline you must practice. Reduce unnecessary movement. Reduce unnecessary speech. Reduce unnecessary expression. Not to be stiff, but to be intentional. Let your default be neutral. Let your presence be steady. Let your actions be measured. And then watch what happens. People will start watching you. What is quiet is watched. You may feel exposed at first. That's normal. Silence and stillness remove your usual defenses. No jokes, no explanations, no emotional noise. Just presence. But stay with it. Because once you're comfortable being observed without performing, your authority multiplies. You stop chasing validation. You stop reacting to opinions. You stop managing perceptions. That's leadership maturity. You have a choice. Seek attention or attract attention. One drains you, the other empowers you. Stillness creates mystery. Mystery creates authority. And authority doesn't need volume. You've learned how to stop reacting. You've learned how to use silence. You've learned emotional control. You've stopped explaining yourself. You've accepted observation. Now it's time to understand the consequence of all of this. Because how you respond or don't trains everyone around you. Your Your behavior teaches, whether you intend it or not.
Every reaction teaches. Every pause teaches. Every emotional move you make becomes a lesson. You are always training people. The only question is what you're training them to do. Your reaction trains their behavior. That's the key. Most leaders think authority comes from titles, rules, or speeches. It doesn't. Authority is learned behavior, learned by watching you. When you react sharply, you teach others it's acceptable to provoke you. When you explain defensively, you teach others to question you. When you rush, you teach others to pressure you. You have a choice: train chaos or train calm. Calm leaders set emotional standards through behavior, not words. You can announce expectations all day. If your reactions contradict them, your behavior wins. That's the key. People don't follow what you say, they follow what you tolerate. And tolerance is communicated through reaction. If you tolerate disrespect emotionally, they will repeat it. If you tolerate interruptions emotionally, they will continue. If you tolerate urgency emotionally, they will escalate pressure. Your reaction trains their behavior. Most people don't realize they're teaching lessons they don't want taught. They say, "Don't speak to me like that," then react explosively the next time it happens. They say, "We need calm under pressure," then panic when pressure arrives. Mixed signals destroy authority. That's the key. Leadership is not correction. Leadership is consistency. You don't need their permission to set the emotional standard. You set it by how you respond, or how you don't. When you remain calm under provocation, you send a clear message: this doesn't move me. When you pause under pressure, you send another: this won't rush me. When you stay neutral under criticism, you send the strongest one of all: you don't control my state. Your reaction trains their behavior. Think of children, think of teams, think of organizations. Behavior always adapts to the emotional environment, and you are the environment. That's the key. If your environment is volatile, people become defensive. If your environment is reactive, people become manipulative. If your environment is calm, people become regulated. Calm is not passive, calm is directive. It tells people how to act without saying a word. You have a choice: be emotionally predictable or be emotionally stable. Predictability invites manipulation. Stability commands respect. Most leaders accidentally teach others to push harder. They respond faster when pressured. They speak more when challenged. They show emotion when tested. So others learn: apply pressure and they'll move. That's not leadership. That's conditioning yourself to be controlled. Your reaction trains their behavior. Now understand this clearly. People will always test boundaries, not out of malice, but out of instinct. They are asking, how far can I go? What happens if I push? Will this person hold? Your reaction is the answer. That's the key. If you react emotionally, the lesson is push works. If you stay calm and consistent, the lesson is push is useless, and useless behaviors disappear. You don't need their permission to be steady. You don't need their permission to hold a line. You don't need their permission to not react. Here's the discipline you must adopt. Before reacting, ask yourself, what behavior am I about to reinforce? Because every reaction reinforces something. Anger reinforces fear. Defensiveness reinforces challenge. Urgency reinforces pressure. Calm reinforces restraint. Silence reinforces reflection. Consistency reinforces respect. Your reaction trains their behavior. This is why calm leaders don't correct constantly. They don't lecture emotionally. They don't explode and apologize. They model. Modeling is stronger than instruction. That's the key. You may think being calm lets things slide. It doesn't.
It raises the standard. When you don't react, people adjust upward. They self-regulate. They second-guess their own behavior. Because you didn't reward dysfunction with emotion. You have a choice. Reward behavior or starve it. Emotion is a reward. Attention is a reward. Reaction is a reward. When you remove the reward, behavior changes. Your reaction trains their behavior. This applies everywhere, at work, at home, in conflict, in leadership. If someone disrespects you and you emotionally engage, they got something. If someone pressures you and you rush, they got something. If someone tests you and you react, they got confirmation. Calm gives them nothing. That's the key. Now, this doesn't mean you ignore problems. It means you address them without emotional payment. You state expectations once. You enforce consequences calmly. You remain unchanged. That's leadership clarity. It's not about anger. It's about discipline. It's not about dominance. It's about consistency. It's not about fear. It's about standards. You don't need their permission to enforce standards. Standards enforced calmly last longer than standards enforced emotionally. Your reaction trains their behavior. Notice the people around you who are difficult. Ask yourself one honest question. What have I trained them to expect from me? This is uncomfortable but powerful, because once you see the pattern, you can change it. You have a choice. React the same way or retrain the environment. Retraining starts with you. The first step is awareness. The second is restraint. The third is consistency. That's the key. You will feel resistance at first. People will push harder when reactions stop. That's normal. They're testing to see if the old pattern still works. Don't move. Hold your posture, hold your tone, hold your pace. And eventually, behavior adapts, because humans always adapt to emotional gravity. Your reaction trains their behavior. When you master this, leadership becomes easier. Fewer confrontations, less drama, more respect. Not because people are better, but because the environment is clearer. You are no longer reacting to behavior, you are shaping it. And once you understand this, you unlock a deeper level of influence. Because emotional standards don't just control behavior, they control rooms. They control meetings, they control negotiations, they control outcomes. You've learned that reaction gives permission. You've learned that calm sets standards. Now it's time to take that calm and apply it at scale. Because leadership is not one-on-one, it's one-to-many. And the calmest nervous system always leads the room.
Every room has energy. Every situation carries tension. Every meeting, negotiation, and conflict radiates emotional charge. And here's the truth most leaders ignore. The calmest person leads the room. That's the key. Not the loudest, not the most opinionated, not the one with the longest speech. The calmest. Because people always orient themselves to the emotional center. If the energy spikes, they look for stability. If confusion spreads, they look for clarity. If panic rises, they look for composure. You have a choice. Be part of the emotional chaos or set the emotional ceiling. Leaders who self-regulate control more than their behavior. They control the room. They control the tone. They control the decisions. It's not about shouting louder. It's about breathing slower. It's not about arguing harder. It's about pausing longer. The calmest person leads the room. Think about a high-stakes negotiation. Two sides heated, tension at maximum, every word analyzed, every pause measured. Who wins? The one who feels steady, the one who isn't swayed by emotion, the one who creates an environment where others react to them, not the other way around. That's the key.
Meetings are microcosms of life. Conflicts are tests of leadership. Negotiations are mirrors of emotional control. And in every case, the calmest person sets the pace. It's not magic, it's physics. Emotional gravity. The room moves toward the most stable center. You have a choice. Let the room control you, or control the room by controlling yourself. Here's how the unreactive leader operates. Observe first. Before you speak, assess. Notice tension. Notice power dynamics. Notice emotional triggers. Regulate second. Control your breath. Control your voice. Control your posture. Emotion comes first from within, not from reaction. Act last. When everyone else is reacting impulsively, you decide deliberately. Your words land with weight. Your actions carry authority. The calmest person leads the room. Most people confuse movement with action. They think reacting quickly is leading. They think arguing louder is influence. They think pacing nervously is engagement. Wrong. Movement without regulation is chaos. Calm with intention is influence. That's the key. Self-regulation is your tool, your secret weapon, your unseen lever of power. Every decision you make while calm reinforces authority. Every measured response teaches restraint. Every steady breath signals leadership. You don't need their permission to slow down. You don't need their permission to hold silence. You don't need their permission to let others rush into your space. The calmest person leads the room. High-pressure moments expose weakness. People feel it immediately. They notice impatience. They notice irritation. They notice reaction before content. And they exploit it. Leaders who panic under pressure teach chaos. Leaders who remain calm under pressure teach mastery. That's the key. Here's a real-world practice. During tense meetings, resist the impulse to fill silence. During confrontations, resist the impulse to justify or argue. During negotiations, resist the impulse to over-explain or over-commit. Pause, breathe, anchor yourself, and then speak. The room will move toward your rhythm. People adjust subconsciously. Decisions bend toward the steady center. The calmest person leads the room. Control doesn't require force. Control requires awareness. Control requires patience. Control requires self-discipline. It's not about being untouchable. It's about being unshakable. You have a choice. React with chaos or guide with calm. Leaders who master this teach others to rise to the standard. Teams perform better. Meetings resolve faster. Negotiations become predictable. Because emotional ceilings shape behavior. You don't need their permission to set the standard. You don't need their permission to remain regulated. You don't need their permission to occupy composure. Here's the discipline you must adopt. Before you speak, check your internal state. If it's reactive, pause. If it's emotional, pause. If it's uncertain, pause. Lead from control, not impulse. Most people think leadership is about doing. High-functioning leaders know it's about being. Being steady, being deliberate, being calm when others are storming. The calmest person leads the room. Notice the impact over time. Rooms become less reactive. Teams become more disciplined. Decisions become more intentional.
And you gain influence without argument, authority without volume, power without chaos. That's the key. Control the room by controlling yourself. The lesson is simple. Your internal state is the lever. Your posture is the signal. Your calm is the command. Everything else is secondary. You've learned silence. You've learned emotional control. You've learned that reactions teach. You've learned to stop explaining yourself. You've learned that quiet is observed. Now you learn that the room obeys calm. Because the moment you master your internal state, everything outside follows. You have a choice: chaos or calm, reaction or restraint, noise or authority. The calmest person leads the room.
Most people chase respect. They demand it. They argue for it. They plead for it. And in the process, they lose it. That's the truth. Respect is never requested. It is observed. It is earned. Respect follows restraint. That's the key. Unreactive leaders do not demand recognition. They do not explain why they deserve it. They do not perform theatrics to prove value. They embody it. Think about the people you respect most. Rarely are they loud. Rarely are they desperate for approval. Rarely are they trying to be seen. They act. They endure. They persist. And others notice. You have a choice. Chase respect and drain your energy, or attract respect and strengthen your authority. Most leaders confuse respect with attention. Attention can be bought, borrowed, or forced. Respect cannot. Respect follows restraint. Respect follows consistency. Respect follows calm. This is how unreactive leaders operate. They set standards without fanfare. They do not announce their rules, they enforce them calmly. They do not plead for agreement, they hold the line. They do not explain their authority, they demonstrate it. They maintain emotional control. They do not react to provocation. They do not justify or explain. They do not rush to prove themselves. They lead by example. Their actions are deliberate. Their words are minimal. Their presence is commanding without trying to dominate. Respect follows restraint. When you chase respect, you create neediness. When you chase approval, you invite manipulation. When you chase recognition, you teach others to withhold it until you act desperate. You have a choice. Lead with calm or beg for acknowledgement. Unreactive leaders do not beg. They observe. They act. They persist. And over time, the world begins to notice. Respect is a natural byproduct of behavior, not performance, not volume, not theatrics, not explanation. Respect follows restraint. Here's the discipline you must practice. Stop reacting to every slight. Stop explaining your authority. Stop performing to be acknowledged. Stop chasing applause. Instead, maintain composure. Enforce standards quietly. Speak when necessary. Act consistently. The results are profound. People adjust their behavior around you. They pause before crossing boundaries. They hesitate before testing your limits. They treat you as a reference point. Respect arrives naturally. That's the key. Most leaders get this backward. They chase recognition and wonder why it never lasts. They over-explain and wonder why influence fades. They react emotionally and wonder why authority slips. Respect cannot be bought, begged, or demanded. It must be earned through restraint and consistency. You have a choice. Chase it and fail. Allow it to arrive and succeed. Every interaction is a test. Every conflict is a lesson. Every decision is a demonstration. And how you respond sets the standard. Reacting invites chaos. Explaining invites debate.
Chasing invites weakness. Restraint invites respect. Think of great leaders throughout history. Not the ones who yelled the loudest, not the ones who demanded attention, not the ones who justified their every move. The quiet ones, the composed ones, the disciplined ones. They were watched, they were studied, they were respected. Respect follows restraint. You don't need their permission to withhold reaction. You don't need their permission to maintain boundaries. You don't need their permission to remain composed. This is the unreactive leader's secret. The less you chase, the more they follow. The less you react, the more they respect. The less you perform, the more your authority multiplies. You have a choice. Chase attention or embody calm. React quickly or act deliberately. Seek approval or demonstrate consistency. Respect follows restraint. This is why the unreactive leader feels powerful. Because influence is earned through action, not noise. Because authority grows without asking. Because recognition arrives naturally, not by pursuit. Stop chasing. Start embodying. Let respect arrive. You have a choice. Every interaction, every decision, every silence. It either earns respect or forfeits it. Restraint is power. Composure is influence. Quiet authority is permanent. Respect follows restraint. You've learned to stop reacting. You've learned to remain silent strategically. You've learned emotional control. You've learned not to over-explain. You've learned that observation creates authority. Now it's time to understand how influence extends beyond words. Every face tells a story. Every expression communicates before a word is spoken. Every subtle movement broadcasts emotion. Your face speaks before you do. That's the key. Most people underestimate it. They think words carry authority. They think speeches define power. They are wrong. Facial reactions communicate more than words ever could. A raised eyebrow, a tight jaw, a slow blink. Each one signals awareness, judgment, approval, or disapproval. You have a choice. Allow your face to betray emotion or use it as a tool. React impulsively or respond deliberately. Look uncontrolled or project composure. Your face speaks before you do. Think about high-pressure situations, meetings with conflict, negotiations with tension, interviews with scrutiny. Who do you notice first? The person whose face is calm, steady, controlled. The one whose expression does not fluctuate with the room. That's the unreactive leader. That's the one with invisible authority. That's the one who leads silently. It's not about faking neutrality. It's about discipline. It's about controlling micro-expressions. It's about projecting the calm center. Your face communicates what your words cannot contradict. Imagine a team is panicking. Chaos is rising. Voices are elevated. People are running to solutions. Your face remains calm. Your jaw relaxed. Your eyes steady. Your posture composed. What happens? People pause. People mirror your composure. They take cues from your stillness. Your face speaks before you do. This is not just about avoiding negative expressions. It's about broadcasting the right message: control, composure, confidence, authority. You have a choice. React with anxiety or project calm. Every twitch, frown, or forced smile can betray you. Every uncontrolled expression signals doubt. Every micro-reaction is interpreted as weakness. Your face communicates before you speak. Your face is observed more closely than your words. Your face sets the emotional standard. That's the key. Leaders who master their facial expressions control perception. They do not need to argue their point. They do not need to justify themselves. They do not need to over-explain. The face commands. The eyes focus attention. The mouth signals determination. The jaw conveys resolve. Your face speaks before you do. It's a leadership tool that most leaders ignore. They focus on voice. They focus on posture. They focus on action. But the face is the amplifier of all authority. It can support your calm, or it can undermine it. You have a choice. Train your face, or let it betray you. Practice observing yourself. Notice your natural reactions in tense situations. Notice the twitch, the grimace, the forced smile. Notice what your team interprets subconsciously. Then change it. Neutral expressions project composure. Composed faces project dominance. Controlled expressions project unshakable authority. Your face speaks before you do. Here's a practical application. Pause before responding. Let your mind settle. Let your face settle. Anchor your expression. Relax the jaw, soften the eyes, and maintain neutral intensity. Observe reactions, don't mirror them. Your team may escalate emotionally, you do not. Every controlled micro-expression reinforces leadership. Every uncontrolled flick communicates vulnerability. Every slight movement is interpreted and remembered. You have a choice. Be a reactive human or a controlled leader. Be a participant in chaos or the calm center. Be expressive without awareness or intentional in communication. Your face speaks before you do. Even in silence, your face teaches. It instructs the room how to behave. It signals which behavior will succeed and which will not. Neutrality is not weakness. It is authority. Restraint is not detachment. It is command. You don't need their permission to maintain composure. You don't need their permission to withhold judgment on your face. You don't need their permission to let your presence carry influence. Your face speaks before you do. Every glance, every raise of an eyebrow, every subtle change communicates leadership, even before you articulate instructions, even before you enforce boundaries. You have a choice. Show weakness or embody authority. React emotionally or control your expression. Let your face betray you or train it as a silent command center. Master this, and influence becomes effortless. Your presence alone shifts energy. Your facial control sets the tone. Your composure establishes expectation. Your face speaks before you do. You've learned silence. You've learned restraint. You've learned observation. You've learned that reaction trains behavior. You've learned to stop chasing respect. Now you learn that your most powerful signal may not be in your words. It's in your face. Control it. Command through it. Lead silently. Your face speaks before you do.
Most people react immediately. A question, a provocation, a challenge, instantly answered, instantly defended, instantly explained. And in that instant, power is lost. Pause first, power follows. That's the key. Immediate reactions reduce leverage. Immediate reactions reduce clarity. Immediate reactions reduce authority. You have a choice. React impulsively or respond with strategy. Answer now or answer deliberately. Move emotionally or move intentionally. The unreactive leader understands one truth. Time is power. Delay is leverage. Silence is authority. Pause first. Power follows. Think about negotiations. A client challenges your proposal. Your team criticizes your plan. A competitor questions your strategy. What do most people do? React, defend, explain. And in doing so, they reveal everything: their fears, their weaknesses, their impulses. The unreactive leader waits, breathes, observes, then responds. The timing, tone, and content of the response carry weight. They are no longer just words, they are instruments of influence. Pause first, power follows. This is not hesitation. This is deliberate restraint. This is strategic silence. When you pause, the room shifts. People lean in. People speculate. People reveal more. Every delayed response becomes leverage. Every unmoved stance builds clarity. Every unreactive answer demonstrates authority. You have a choice. React like everyone else, or rise above and lead silently. Most leaders misunderstand silence. They think not speaking is weakness. They think hesitation is doubt. They think delay is incompetence. Wrong. Pause is strength. Pause is strategy. Pause is power. It's not about indecision. It's about intention. It's not about avoidance. It's about control. Pause first. Power follows. Here's how the unreactive leader uses this principle. Listen fully. Before replying, understand every angle. Understand the emotional undercurrent. Understand the strategic opportunity. Regulate internally. Check impulses. Check emotions. Check assumptions. Respond deliberately. Words land with precision. Actions carry weight. Decisions are respected. Immediate reactions lack these qualities. They are messy, emotional, and cheap. Delayed responses are intentional, composed, and expensive. Pause first. Power follows. Every unmoved response teaches. It teaches patience. It teaches observation. It teaches respect. When people notice your calm, your restraint, they adjust. They pause before challenging. They reconsider before testing. They hesitate before pushing. Your power grows silently. Your authority multiplies without noise. You have a choice. React immediately and lose control. Respond deliberately and gain influence. This principle applies everywhere. Conflict at work, difficult conversations, high-stakes negotiations, unexpected provocations. Every situation is an opportunity. Every pause is leverage. Every unmoved response is a lesson. Pause first. Power follows. You may fear delay. You may feel pressure to respond. You may worry about appearing weak. Ignore it. Strength is never rushed. Influence is never immediate. Authority is never reactive. It is measured. It is deliberate. It is intentional. Your unmoved response communicates dominance without words. It communicates control without force. It communicates intelligence without explaining. Pause first. Power follows. This is the essence of unreactive leadership. Do not react. Do not rush. Do not explain unnecessarily. Instead, observe, regulate, and respond strategically. Every delayed response reinforces authority. Every thoughtful answer builds clarity. Every calm reaction teaches restraint. You have a choice. Be moved by every action around you, or move deliberately. Be reactive, or be unreactive. Be emotional, or disciplined. Pause first. Power follows. Leaders who master this principle are rarely challenged successfully. They set the tone of interaction. They control perception. They direct outcomes without appearing forceful. Every reaction from others becomes predictable. Every action becomes manageable. Every room becomes a stage where you lead silently. Pause first. Power follows. Your discipline is your leverage. Your calm is your authority. Your unmoved response is your tool. It's not about avoiding action. It's about choosing the right action at the right time. You have learned silence. You have learned facial control. You have learned restraint. You have learned not to chase respect. Now you learn that timing amplifies all of it. Pause first. Observe fully. Respond deliberately. Power follows. And when you master this, leadership becomes effortless. Rooms obey. Teams align. Decisions bend to your steadiness. You don't need to force influence. You don't need to demand respect. You don't need to explain your authority. Pause first. Power follows. You have a choice. React immediately or lead deliberately. Yield to impulse or control the narrative. Follow the crowd or create the center. Pause first. Power follows.
Most leaders think authority comes from winning every argument. They believe dominance is measured in immediate victories. They fight every battle, defend every point, and correct every minor mistake. And in doing so, they lose the war. Not every moment deserves your energy. That's the key. You have a choice. Engage in trivial conflict or preserve your influence. Defend every detail or save authority for what truly matters. React to every slight or invest in strategic leverage. Leaders who try to win every moment are exhausted. Their energy is scattered. Their credibility is diluted. Their influence fades because people notice desperation, not dominance. Not every moment deserves your energy. The unreactive leader understands a simple principle. Long-term influence matters more than short-term victory. You don't need to win every point. You don't need to prove yourself constantly. You don't need their approval to remain unshaken. Not every moment deserves your energy. Think about workplace conflicts, team disagreements, stakeholder criticism. Some battles are worth fighting. Some arguments matter. Some conflicts determine the trajectory of your leadership. Everything else is noise. Not every moment deserves your energy. The discipline lies in discernment. Decide what is worth your emotional and mental bandwidth. Decide what reinforces authority and what diminishes it. Decide when silence teaches more than words ever could. You have a choice. React to the trivial or lead strategically. Engage in every debate or reserve power for decisive moments. Argue for every point or let restraint demonstrate mastery. Not every moment deserves your energy. Here's how the unreactive leader applies this principle. Filter significance. Ask yourself, will this decision, argument, or reaction matter tomorrow, next week, next year? If the answer is no, stay silent. Maintain composure. Avoid impulsive correction. Avoid defensive explanation. Avoid engaging in emotional reactions that do not advance long-term influence. Choose battles intentionally. When the stakes are real, act decisively. When the stakes are trivial, observe silently. Your restraint becomes a signal of authority. Not every moment deserves your energy. Every time you skip a trivial argument, you gain leverage. Every time you avoid proving a minor point, you conserve authority. Every time you remain calm when provoked unnecessarily, you teach respect. You have a choice. Lose yourself in short-term victories or preserve long-term dominance. React to every slight or act intentionally. Correct every flaw or enforce the standards that matter most. Not every moment deserves your energy. This principle is transformative. Teams notice restraint. Colleagues mirror composure. Opponents hesitate before challenging. You appear confident without performing. You appear powerful without dominating. You appear disciplined without preaching. Not every moment deserves your energy. Most leaders overestimate the value of constant engagement. They mistake activity for influence. They mistake volume for authority. Wrong. Influence is preserved when energy is controlled. Authority grows when restraint is exercised. Respect arrives when every word, every correction, every reaction is intentional. You have a choice. Fight every battle or lead strategically. React to every challenge or preserve strength. Prove yourself constantly
or command silently. Not every moment deserves your energy. Here's a practical rule. If it doesn't affect outcomes that matter, pause. If it doesn't reinforce standards, pause. If it doesn't strengthen authority, pause. Your energy is finite. Your influence is precious. Your discipline is your leverage. Not every moment deserves your energy. This is the essence of unreactive leadership. Choose what matters. Ignore what doesn't. Preserve calm. Preserve authority. Preserve power. You have a choice. Waste energy on trivial battles or conserve it for transformative influence. React emotionally or respond deliberately. Chase immediate victory or secure lasting respect. Not every moment deserves your energy. When you master this, leadership becomes effortless. You no longer exhaust yourself proving points that don't matter. You no longer dilute authority by reacting to every challenge. You no longer invite manipulation through unnecessary engagement. You focus on the long game, the game where influence accumulates, the game where authority is respected, the game where calm wins every room. Not every moment deserves your energy. You've learned silence. You've learned restraint. You've learned that reactions teach. You've learned emotional control. You've learned the value of strategic pause. Now you learn the power of selective engagement. Not every moment deserves your energy. And when you act only on what truly matters, you preserve your authority. You amplify your influence. You lead with unshakable confidence.
Leaders are constantly surrounded by noise. Emails ping, voices argue, conflicts erupt, emotions flare. Most people react immediately to every signal. They let frustration, anger, and pressure dictate decisions. They confuse emotional intensity with urgency. Distance sharpens judgment. That's the key. You have a choice. Dive into emotional chaos or rise above it. React to every provocation or create space to think clearly. Let pressure cloud decisions or use distance to see strategy. Emotional distance is not detachment from responsibility. It is a tool of clarity. It is a shield against impulsive decisions. It is the lens through which the unreactive leader sees reality. Distance sharpens judgment. Think about crises, unexpected setbacks, team failures, high-stakes negotiations. The first impulse for most leaders is reaction. The unreactive leader pauses. They observe. They allow the emotional storm to pass over before acting. Distance sharpens judgment. It's not about avoiding emotion. It's about controlling it. It's about creating separation between input and response. It's about turning emotional noise into information instead of distraction. You have a choice. React immediately and risk error. Step back and gain clarity. Emotional distance improves decision-making accuracy. It prevents short-sighted reactions. It prevents overreactions that erode credibility. It prevents impulsive mistakes that cost influence. Distance sharpens judgment. Here's how to cultivate it. Pause before engaging. Let the initial surge of emotion pass. Observe objectively. Listen carefully without judgment. Separate self from situation. The problem is not personal unless you make it so. Detach ego from outcome. Detach impulsivity from decision-making. Assess strategically. Identify facts. Identify patterns. Identify leverage points before acting. Most leaders confuse action with control. They think reaction equals power. They think engagement equals leadership. Wrong. Distance equals power. Detachment equals influence. Observation equals authority. Distance sharpens judgment. In practice, this means when criticism arrives, listen, don't defend. When provocation appears, pause, don't retaliate. When pressure mounts, breathe, don't panic. Every measured response communicates authority. Every composed action demonstrates mastery. Every deliberate choice reinforces leadership. You have a choice. React like everyone else, lose clarity. Detach strategically, gain foresight. Emotional distance also creates perspective. It allows you to prioritize. It allows you to focus on what truly matters. It allows you to distinguish between noise and opportunity. Distance sharpens judgment. Unreactive leaders do not let emotional contagion dictate decisions. They observe tensions, conflicts, and panic without absorbing them. They see the patterns others miss. They act from analysis, not agitation. You don't need their permission to pause. You don't need their permission to stay composed. You don't need their permission to see clearly when others are blind. Distance sharpens judgment. Every time you step back, you gain clarity. Every time you detach, you gain perspective. Every time you resist emotional influence, you gain authority. It's not about coldness, it's about strategic vision. It's not about avoidance, it's about mastery. You have a choice. Absorb every emotional wave or observe it and respond deliberately. React to drama or see opportunity. Engage in chaos or lead strategically. Distance sharpens judgment. Think about the results. Teams notice your calm. Decisions improve. Errors decrease. Influence multiplies. Leaders who embrace emotional distance rarely make hasty mistakes. They remain steady under fire. They see solutions where others see only problems. They command respect without demanding it. You have a choice. Let emotion dictate or let discipline guide. Let panic control or let perspective direct. Distance is the ultimate leadership tool. It is invisible. It is subtle. It is undeniable. Distance sharpens judgment. You've learned silence. You've learned the value of calm. You've learned restraint. You've learned the power of selective engagement. You've learned strategic pauses. You've learned the authority of controlled reactions. Now you learn the final layer. Emotional distance transforms perception into vision, reaction into strategy, noise into clarity. Distance sharpens judgment. And when you master this, leadership is effortless. You act with precision. You influence without struggle. You lead without chaos. You have a choice. Absorb the noise or rise above it. React impulsively or respond deliberately. Be moved by emotion or lead with vision. Distance sharpens judgment. Closing transition. You've learned to stop reacting. You've learned the power of silence. You've learned the discipline of restraint. You've learned to preserve energy. You've learned to master your face, your pause, and your responses. Now, combine them all. Lead silently, deliberately, and with unstoppable authority.
Leadership is never just about strategy or knowledge. Leadership is about energy. It's about presence. It's about the emotional climate you set. Your calm becomes their calm. That's the key. You have a choice. Exude tension and watch stress ripple through your team. Exude panic and watch fear multiply. Exude composure and watch confidence spread. Your energy sets the room. Your reactions set the standard. Your discipline sets the culture. Your calm becomes their calm. Teams mirror the emotional state of their leader. It's psychological, it's automatic, it's unstoppable. If you are reactive, anxious, or chaotic, your team reflects it. If you are calm, grounded, and unshaken, your team mirrors that. Your calm becomes their calm. Think about high-pressure situations. A project deadline is looming. A critical client escalates an issue. The team feels tension rise. What do most leaders do? They mirror the chaos. They raise their voices. They frown. They pace. They overreact. The team follows. Stress multiplies. Mistakes increase. Decisions become rushed. Your calm becomes their calm. The unreactive leader does the opposite. They breathe slowly. They maintain posture. They regulate facial expression. They respond deliberately. Calm at the top creates performance below. It slows the storm. It clarifies thinking. It improves results. Your calm becomes their calm. You have a choice. Feed the chaos or model restraint. Feed the panic or radiate composure. Feed emotion or enforce discipline. Teams are mirrors. They reflect the energy at the top. They amplify it. They rely on it. Your calm becomes their calm. This is why emotional control is not optional. It is not a soft skill. It is a multiplier of authority. It is a force that affects every outcome. Chaos is contagious. Stress is contagious. Panic is contagious. So is calm. So is stability. So is focus. Your calm becomes their calm. Here's how to master it. Control your posture. A relaxed stance communicates composure. No fidgeting, no tension. Your body speaks before words do. Regulate your breathing. Slow, controlled breaths signal control to your nervous system and your team. Control facial expressions. Neutrality conveys clarity. Avoid unnecessary reactions. Your face teaches restraint. Respond with purpose. Delay reaction when appropriate. Speak with authority when needed. Act deliberately. Your calm becomes their calm. Observe the results. Teams work more efficiently. Teams communicate more effectively. Teams solve problems rather than escalating them. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to enforce dominance verbally. You don't need their permission to influence outcomes. Your calm becomes their calm. Conversely, if you lose composure, your authority diminishes. You lose clarity. Your team mirrors your panic. Errors multiply. Respect erodes. Your calm becomes their calm. You have a choice. Lead with tension or lead with tranquility. React impulsively or respond deliberately. Feed chaos or reinforce stability. Calm is not passive. It is strategic. It is active influence. It is deliberate leadership. Your calm becomes their calm. In practice, when a crisis arises, pause, breathe, observe the situation, respond intentionally. Your energy communicates more than words. Your restraint signals competence. Your control inspires confidence. Your calm becomes their calm. Even subtle cues matter. A steady voice, unshaken gaze, measured gestures. Every controlled signal reinforces authority. You have a choice. Be swayed by tension or anchor the team in composure. Be reactive or lead unshakably. Be chaotic or be the calm center. Calm is contagious. So is chaos. And as a leader, you decide which spreads. Your calm becomes their calm. Teams notice patterns. They mirror them. They trust them. They perform according to them. When you master this principle, influence multiplies effortlessly. Control is not demanded, it is inherited. Authority is not declared, it is absorbed. Your calm becomes their calm. You've learned to stop reacting. You've learned strategic pauses. You've learned emotional distance. You've learned selective engagement. You've learned that your face, your energy, and your presence teach. Now you see the multiplier. Your composure is a force. Your calm shapes outcomes. Your discipline guides others without a word. Your calm becomes their calm. You have a choice. React impulsively or influence deliberately. Mirror chaos or radiate composure. Lose authority or expand it silently. Your calm becomes their calm. And when you master this principle, the room shifts automatically. Teams perform under pressure. Decisions are clear. Conflicts are contained. Calm is not just a state, it is leadership in action. It is influence without force. It is authority without noise. Your calm becomes their calm. You don't need permission to lead this way. You don't need recognition. You don't need to explain it. Your calm becomes their calm. Every moment you practice restraint, you teach mastery. Every measured response amplifies authority.
Every deliberate pause reinforces respect. Your calm becomes their calm. You have a choice. Feed chaos or model calm. React impulsively or respond intentionally. Lose control or lead silently and powerfully. Your calm becomes their calm.
Most people think leadership requires constant speaking. They believe influence comes from dominating conversations. They assume proving themselves is the path to authority. Wrong. Say less, see more. That's the key. You have a choice. Fill the room with words or remain silent and observe. React to every statement or listen to uncover hidden truths. Force control or let restraint reveal the real dynamics. Reactive people expose insecurity without being questioned. They correct themselves repeatedly. They justify endlessly. They argue minor points. And in doing so, they reveal exactly what they fear, what they lack, and what they want. Say less, see more. The silent leader does not need to interrogate. They watch behavior, tone, and subtle cues. They notice patterns that others miss. They collect information effortlessly. Say less, see more. Think about meetings, team debates, stakeholder pushback, negotiation tables. Most leaders respond immediately. They challenge, argue, and correct. They try to assert dominance. The reactive approach only accelerates exposure, but for themselves. Their energy leaks, their authority diminishes, their weaknesses become apparent. Say less, see more. The unreactive leader does the opposite. They stay calm. They observe closely. They make the first move only when it matters. Every pause is lesson. Every silence is a signal. Every measured response is leverage. You have a choice. Reveal everything or let others reveal it themselves. React impulsively or gain insight through restraint. Speak constantly or let observation do the work. Say less, see more. Here's how to practice it. Pause deliberately. Before answering, breathe. Before reacting, assess. Before deciding, observe. Focus on behavior. Notice contradictions between words and actions. Pay attention to hesitation, tone, and micro-expressions. Patterns reveal priorities and weaknesses. Resist the urge to correct immediately. Most people reveal more when not interrupted. Most people self-expose when unchecked. Most people cannot resist over-explaining under silent scrutiny. Say less, see more. This principle applies in every scenario. High-pressure conversations, difficult clients, unpredictable teams, even casual discussions. Reactive leaders constantly feed information to others unintentionally. Silent leaders extract intelligence without revealing themselves. You don't need to dominate the room. You don't need to assert superiority verbally. You don't need their permission to lead silently. Say less, see more. Every piece of observed information becomes leverage. Every subtle weakness noted becomes strategic advantage. Every hesitation detected becomes insight for action. You have a choice. React immediately and give away power. Observe silently and gain influence. Speak constantly and reveal weakness yourself. Say less, see more. The disciplined leader knows silence is not absence. Observation is not passivity. Waiting is not weakness. It's a strategy. It's a tool. It's the ultimate form of influence. Say less, see more. Imagine negotiations. A competitor overreaches. A colleague challenges. A team member hesitates. The reactive leader responds immediately. They argue, clarify, and over-explain. They reveal their boundaries. They show insecurity. The unreactive leader does nothing. They observe, record mentally, and plan. They let the other person reveal priorities, fears, and flaws. Then they act decisively with all information in hand. Say less, see more. You have a choice. Feed the conversation or let it feed you. React and expose or observe and leverage. Talk constantly or lead silently. Say less, see more. This is how authority multiplies effortlessly. People disclose truth without realizing it. Teams follow a calm leader instinctively. Influence grows quietly, invisibly, and powerfully. Reactive people expose insecurity naturally. They reveal priorities. They reveal fears. They reveal opportunities. The unreactive leader collects, analyzes, and applies. Say less, see more. You've learned the value of calm. You've learned restraint. You've learned to pause strategically. You've learned that your face, voice, and energy teach. You've learned that not every moment deserves engagement. Now you see the multiplier. Your silence allows others to reveal what they cannot hide. Your restraint creates insight. Your calm creates leverage. Say less, see more. You have a choice. React and reveal, or observe and gain. Chase every argument, or let truth come to you. Show authority through words or through strategic restraint. Say less, see more. And when you master this principle, every interaction becomes an opportunity. Every conversation becomes intelligence. Every pause becomes power. You don't need to fight for every point. You don't need to prove your strength verbally. You don't need their permission to influence outcomes silently. Say less, see more. Authority is quiet. Influence is subtle. Power is deliberate. And in this silence, you lead effectively. You act decisively. You win without performing.
Leadership begins before a word is uttered. It begins in posture. It begins in presence. It begins in energy. Energy enters before language. That's the key. You have a choice. Walk into a room with tension or with calm. Sit in a meeting with agitation or with grounded composure. Approach a conversation with insecurity or with silent authority. Energy enters before language. Think about the most effective leaders you've encountered. Before they speak, you notice them. Before they give instruction, you feel them. Before they assert authority, credibility is already established. That's how influence works. Words reinforce energy. Energy precedes words. Energy enters before language. Your posture communicates more than your argument. Your gaze signals more than your explanation. Your breathing transmits more than your tone. Unreactive posture builds instant credibility. Standing straight communicates confidence. A calm expression signals control. Measured gestures show discipline. Energy enters before language. You have a choice. Move like everyone else or move deliberately. React like everyone else or anchor your energy. Mirror anxiety or project steadiness. Energy enters before language. Most leaders overcompensate with words. They speak constantly. They assert loudly. They clarify endlessly. The reactive leader floods the room with noise. They hope words convince. They hope explanations assert authority. They hope talking creates respect. Wrong. Respect is first felt, then acknowledged. Authority is first embodied, then verbalized. Influence is first transmitted, then reinforced. Energy enters before language. Your posture communicates more than your argument. Your gaze signals more than your explanation. Your breathing transmits more than your tone. Unreactive posture builds instant credibility. Standing straight communicates confidence. A calm expression signals control. Measured gestures show discipline. Energy enters before language. You have a choice. Move like everyone else or move deliberately. React like everyone else or anchor your energy. Mirror anxiety or project steadiness. Energy enters before language. Most leaders overcompensate with words. They speak constantly, they assert loudly, they clarify endlessly. The reactive leader floods the room with noise. They hope words convince. They hope explanations assert authority. They hope talking creates respect. Wrong. Respect is first felt, then acknowledged. Authority is first embodied, then verbalized. Influence is first transmitted, then reinforced. Energy enters before language. Your posture communicates more than your argument. Your gaze signals more than your explanation. Your breathing transmits more than your tone. Unreactive posture builds instant credibility. Standing straight communicates confidence. A calm expression signals control. Measured gestures show discipline. Energy enters before language. You have a choice. Move like everyone else or move deliberately. React like everyone else or anchor your energy. Mirror anxiety or project steadiness. Energy enters before language. Most leaders overcompensate with words. They speak constantly, they assert loudly, they clarify endlessly. The reactive leader floods the room with noise. They hope words convince. They hope explanations assert authority. They hope talking creates respect. Wrong. Respect is first felt, then acknowledged. Authority is first embodied, then verbalized. Influence is first transmitted, then reinforced. Energy enters before language. Your posture communicates more than your argument. Your gaze signals more than your explanation. Your breathing transmits more than your tone. Unreactive posture builds instant credibility. Standing straight communicates confidence. A calm expression signals control. Measured gestures show discipline. Energy enters before language. You have a choice. Move like everyone else or move deliberately. React like everyone else or anchor your energy. Mirror anxiety or project steadiness. Energy enters before language. Most leaders overcompensate with words. They speak constantly, they assert loudly, they clarify endlessly. The reactive leader floods the room with noise. They hope words convince. They hope explanations assert authority. They hope talking creates respect. Wrong. Respect is first felt, then acknowledged. Authority is first embodied, then verbalized. Influence is first transmitted, then reinforced. Energy enters before language. Your posture communicates more than your argument. Your gaze signals more than your explanation. Your breathing transmits more than your tone. Unreactive posture builds instant credibility. Standing straight communicates confidence. A calm expression signals control. Measured gestures show discipline. Energy enters before language. You have a choice. Move like everyone else or move deliberately. React like everyone else or anchor your energy. Mirror anxiety or project steadiness. Energy enters before language. Most leaders overcompensate with words. They speak constantly, they assert loudly, they clarify endlessly. The reactive leader floods the room with noise. They hope words convince. They hope explanations assert authority. They hope talking creates respect. Wrong. Respect is first felt, then acknowledged. Authority is first embodied, then verbalized. Influence is first transmitted, then reinforced. Energy enters before language. Your posture communicates more than your argument. Your gaze signals more than your explanation. Your breathing transmits more than your tone. Unreactive posture builds instant credibility. Standing straight communicates confidence. A calm expression signals control. Measured gestures show discipline. Energy enters before language.
You have a choice. Move like everyone else or move deliberately. React like everyone else or anchor your energy. Mirror anxiety or project steadiness. Energy enters before language. Most leaders overcompensate with words. They speak constantly, they assert loudly, they clarify endlessly. The reactive leader floods the room with noise. They hope words convince. They hope explanations assert authority. They hope talking creates respect. Wrong. Respect is first felt, then acknowledged. Authority is first embodied, then verbalized. Influence is first transmitted, then reinforced. Energy enters before language. Your posture communicates more than your argument. Your gaze signals more than your explanation. Your breathing transmits more than your tone. Unreactive posture builds instant credibility. Standing straight communicates confidence. A calm expression signals control. Measured gestures show discipline. Energy enters before language. You have a choice. Move like everyone else or move deliberately. React like everyone else or anchor your energy. Mirror anxiety or project steadiness. Energy enters before language. Most leaders overcompensate with words. They speak constantly, they assert loudly, they clarify endlessly. The reactive leader floods the room with noise. They hope words convince. They hope explanations assert authority. They hope talking creates respect. Wrong. Respect is first felt, then acknowledged. Authority is first embodied, then verbalized. Influence is first transmitted, then reinforced. Energy enters before language. Your posture communicates more than your argument. Your gaze signals more than your explanation. Your breathing transmits more than your tone. Unreactive posture builds instant credibility. Standing straight communicates confidence. A calm expression signals control. Measured gestures show discipline. Energy enters before language. You have a choice. Move like everyone else or move deliberately. React like everyone else or anchor your energy. Mirror anxiety or project steadiness. Energy enters before language. Most leaders overcompensate with words. They speak constantly, they assert loudly, they clarify endlessly. The reactive leader floods the room with noise. They hope words convince. They hope explanations assert authority. They hope talking creates respect. Wrong. Respect is first felt, then acknowledged.
Leadership is not about control through force. Leadership is control through influence, and influence is strongest when others adjust to you, not the other way around. Stillness reshapes behavior. That's the key. You have a choice. React immediately or hold your composure. Engage impulsively or observe silently. Feed the chaos or model restraint. Stillness reshapes behavior. Every reaction you give teaches. Every emotional response sets a standard. Every display of impatience or frustration becomes a template for others. You react and they follow your energy. You pause and they pause too. You remain calm and they recalibrate. Stillness reshapes behavior. Think about your team. Meetings are tense. Deadlines are tight. Clients escalate. Most leaders respond immediately. They raise their voices, they over-explain, they panic. The team mirrors it instantly. Stress spreads, decisions weaken, mistakes multiply. Stillness reshapes behavior. The unreactive leader does not. They breathe, they observe, they maintain equilibrium. They respond with precision only when necessary. They allow others to self-correct under the pressure of calm. Stillness reshapes behavior. You have a choice. Feed the volatility or anchor the energy. React impulsively or model patience. Raise tension or diffuse it with calm authority. Stillness reshapes behavior. Here's why it works. Psychological recalibration. Humans naturally mirror emotional cues. When a leader is calm, others adjust to that energy. Chaos meets stillness, and tension naturally dissipates. Behavioral correction. Reactive team members expose insecurity when left unchecked. Silent observation forces self-regulation. People modify behavior when emotional manipulation fails. Strategic influence. Your silence creates leverage. Your presence communicates authority. Your calmness signals that acting out is ineffective. Stillness reshapes behavior. Think about a heated discussion. Two team members argue. A mistake is pointed out. A reactive leader joins the fight. The argument escalates. The team fragments. Productivity falls. The unreactive leader pauses. They let the energy settle. They listen. They guide without entering the fray. Stillness reshapes behavior. The argument resolves naturally. Team members adjust tone, approach, and priorities. Responsibility emerges where blame would have spread. Authority is respected without a word raised. Stillness reshapes behavior. You have a choice. React immediately and teach impulsivity. Remain calm and teach measured response. Feed emotional flare-ups or model restraint. Stillness reshapes behavior. This principle applies beyond teams. Clients, partners, competitors, even family all recalibrate when faced with unshakable composure. Your reactions, or lack thereof, teach boundaries. Your presence or absence of reaction defines expectations. Stillness reshapes behavior. You don't need to assert dominance verbally. You don't need to explain, correct, or justify. You don't need their permission to influence. Stillness reshapes behavior. The strongest leaders are invisible instructors. Their authority is embodied, not performed. Their lessons are demonstrated, not demanded. Stillness reshapes behavior. How to practice it. Pause strategically. Before responding, take a breath. Let words simmer internally. Respond with precision, not reflex. Observe intentionally. Watch micro-expressions, tones, and behavioral patterns. The team's natural tendencies reveal themselves when unchecked. Resist instant correction. Most people overcompensate when a calm leader does not react. Their own adjustments correct the imbalance. Stillness reshapes behavior. You have a choice. Feed the volatility or anchor the energy. React impulsively or model patience. Raise tension or diffuse it with calm authority. Stillness reshapes behavior. Every time you hold composure, you teach more than words could. Every moment of deliberate calm corrects behavior. Every pause amplifies respect. Stillness reshapes behavior. Leaders who panic give away power. Leaders who stay grounded gain it effortlessly. Leaders who act unshakably create predictable, disciplined, and responsive teams. Stillness reshapes behavior. Your calm forces others to think before acting. Your patience demands reflection. Your discipline sets the example. You have a choice. Feed chaos or extinguish it silently. React impulsively or adjust deliberately. Try to control or let composure control the environment. Stillness reshapes behavior. And when you master this,
Every interaction becomes a tool for discipline. Every conversation molds others unconsciously. Every moment of restraint strengthens authority without argument. Stillness reshapes behavior. You've learned silence. You've learned calm. You've learned observation. You've learned the multiplier effect of composure. Now you realize the ultimate truth. Your energy, not your words, dictates the room. Your presence, not your voice, shapes behavior. Your stillness, not your reaction, leads effectively. Stillness reshapes behavior. You have a choice. React impulsively or reshape behavior with calm. Chase emotional reactions or anchor the room silently. Show authority or embody it. Stillness reshapes behavior.
Most leaders confuse leadership with performance. They think authority comes from speaking more. They believe influence is measured by how entertaining, persuasive, or visible they are. Wrong. Stability builds trust. That's the key. You have a choice. Perform constantly or embody unshakable steadiness. React emotionally or maintain composure. Seek approval or lead without validation. Stability builds trust. Performance is fragile. It requires attention. It demands energy. It can crumble under pressure. The unmovable leader does not perform. They exist. They embody discipline, calm, and authority. Their influence is predictable, reliable, and impossible to manipulate. Stability builds trust. Think about the difference. A leader who reacts at every slight loses credibility. A leader who performs for applause gains temporary attention but little respect. A leader who is unmovable commands authority effortlessly. Stability builds trust. You have a choice. Chase admiration or demonstrate reliability. React impulsively or maintain a steady course. Speak constantly or let presence carry authority. Stability builds trust. Here's why being unmovable matters. Predictable authority. Teams trust leaders they can anticipate. Chaos breeds insecurity. Consistency breeds confidence. Emotional resilience. Reacting to every provocation depletes energy. Performing for recognition fosters anxiety. Remaining unshakable strengthens the nervous system. Strategic influence. Unmovable leaders create leverage naturally. Their calm forces others to self-correct. Their authority is felt, not demanded. Stability builds trust. Most leaders act like performers on stage. They over-explain, they overreact, they overcompensate. Their energy fluctuates. Their influence is unstable. The unmovable leader does not. They remain consistent. They respond deliberately. They let every action and word be measured, purposeful, and aligned with principles. Stability builds trust. You have a choice. Feed the spectacle or anchor the environment. Seek applause or earn respect silently. React impulsively or embody patience and calm. Stability builds trust. Every time you choose to remain unshakable, you teach. Every time you resist performance, you model discipline. Every moment of composure reinforces reliability. Stability builds trust. Your team, your clients, your peers, they watch behavior more than they hear words. They mirror reactions unconsciously. If you waver, they waver. If you are steady, they adjust, adapt, and follow. Stability builds trust. The unmovable leader is predictable in strength, not rigid, not unfeeling, predictable in integrity, patience, and measured action. This predictability is the ultimate power. Others cannot manipulate it. They cannot provoke it. They cannot diminish it. Stability builds trust. You have a choice. React for every challenge or remain grounded. Perform for recognition or let consistency demonstrate value. Seek validation or exist with quiet authority. Stability builds trust. How to become unmovable. Anchor daily routines. Discipline in small, repeated actions creates a baseline of reliability. Control emotional triggers. Observe impulses. Pause before responding. Respond intentionally. Maintain presence. Your calm signals competence. Your steadiness reassures. Stability builds trust. You don't need to react to everything. You don't need to perform to be recognized. You don't need permission to be firm, calm, and present. Stability builds trust. Every word spoken by the unmovable leader reinforces authority. Every decision demonstrates discipline. Every silence teaches patience. You have a choice. React and perform, or embody unshakable steadiness. Feed chaos or anchor control. Seek applause or exist with quiet authority. Stability builds trust. When mastered, leadership becomes effortless. People follow instinctively. Decisions are respected. Influence spreads quietly, predictably, and permanently. Stability builds trust. You've learned. Silence teaches. Observation informs. Calm multiplies influence. Now you learn. Consistency consolidates authority. Unmovable presence builds loyalty. Predictable strength earns enduring respect. Stability builds trust. You have a choice. Perform constantly or be unshakable. React impulsively or remain grounded. Seek recognition or let quiet authority manifest. Stability builds trust. And when you embody this principle, teams adjust instinctively. Opposition loses leverage. Your authority is undeniable. Stability builds trust. Every pause, every breath, every controlled response reinforces your leadership. Every moment of patience creates leverage. Every act of composure communicates power. You have a choice. Perform or be unmovable. React or anchor. Seek applause or exist with authority. Stability builds trust.
Most people think leadership is proving themselves. Most people believe the last word equals control. Most people assume finishing the conversation demonstrates authority. Wrong. The last word is rarely necessary. That's the key. You have a choice. Speak constantly or leave space. Defend every point or let silence assert clarity. Chase validation or let your composure communicate strength. The last word is rarely necessary. The need to finish conversations is ego-driven. It signals insecurity, not power. It signals anxiety, not influence. Leaders who constantly correct, clarify, or debate lose more than they gain. They teach others to react. They overextend their energy. They reinforce volatility. The last word is rarely necessary. The unreactive leader does not seek to win the exchange. They observe. They listen. They pause. They create influence without verbal domination. The last word is rarely necessary. You have a choice. React to every provocation or select your words deliberately. Prove your point or embody authority silently. Over-explain or allow presence and calm to settle the matter. The last word is rarely necessary. Here's why leaving space works. Emotional leverage. By not responding to every jab, you force others to confront themselves. Your silence creates reflection. Your calmness compels maturity. Energy conservation. Constantly speaking, clarifying, or debating drains your focus. Your energy is finite. Use it strategically. Subtle authority. When you leave space, others fill it with respect. Your authority is internalized, not demanded. Your influence expands without confrontation. The last word is rarely necessary. Think about it. In meetings, emails, negotiations, most arguments are amplified by over-engagement. People who finish every sentence, clarify every misunderstanding, or defend every position become predictable. They become reactive. They hand others power. The unreactive leader steps back. They allow the conversation to exist without closure. They let others over-explain, overreact, and adjust themselves. The last word is rarely necessary. You have a choice. Close every loop or trust that calm presence communicates clarity. Engage constantly or let measured pauses guide the outcome. React immediately or wait, observe, and respond intentionally. The last word is rarely necessary. Leaving space does not equal weakness. Silence does not signal surrender. Calm restraint communicates mastery. The last word is rarely necessary. Your role as a leader is to influence, not to dominate dialogue, to guide, not to perform verbal gymnastics, to teach by presence, not by insistence. The last word is rarely necessary. How to practice it? Pause before responding. When tempted to reply, breathe. Let the tension settle. Respond only if necessary. Resist closing loops. Allow conversations to remain open emotionally. Presence communicates authority more than words. Trust influence. Your steady energy, consistent behavior, and composure communicate more than arguments ever could. The last word is rarely necessary. You don't need to correct, explain, or justify. You don't need approval to maintain authority. You don't need to dominate the dialogue to lead effectively. The last word is rarely necessary. Every time you resist the urge to finish the conversation, you teach discipline. Every time you allow silence to settle tension, you demonstrate mastery. Every time you refrain from defending ego, you embody unshakable leadership. The last word is rarely necessary. You have a choice. React or remain composed. Defend or leave space. Chase recognition or let authority manifest silently. The last word is rarely necessary. When mastered, teams follow instinctively. Decisions are accepted naturally. Influence spreads quietly. Respect is earned without verbal battles. The last word is rarely necessary. You've learned silence. You've learned patience. You've learned observation. You've learned emotional discipline. Now you learn. Your restraint amplifies authority. Your composure commands influence. Your presence teaches what words cannot. The last word is rarely necessary. You have a choice. React or remain composed. Defend or leave space. Chase recognition or let authority manifest silently. The last word is rarely necessary. And when you master this principle, every conversation bends toward clarity. Every interaction reinforces authority. Every moment of restraint builds lasting influence. The last word is rarely necessary.
Leadership is measured in moments, not in speeches, not in charisma, not in reactions. It is measured in the pause. Pause internally, lead externally. That's the key. You have a choice. React immediately or pause. Speak impulsively or consider. Let emotion dictate or let discipline guide. Pause internally, lead externally. The pause is where authority is forged. It is where composure is tested. It is where influence becomes intentional. Most leaders fail here. They respond to every stimulus. They react to every challenge. They assume action equals control. Wrong. Pause internally, lead externally. The space between stimulus and response is your leadership laboratory. Your power is concentrated there. Your clarity is sharpened there. Your influence grows there. Pause internally, lead externally. You have a choice. Hand control to the loudest voice or cultivate internal stillness. Feed chaos or anchor stability. React for validation or wait,
observe and decide. Pause internally, lead externally. Here's why the inner pause matters. Authority through reflection. Immediate reactions reveal insecurity. Measured responses demonstrate mastery. Those who pause control the emotional tempo of every interaction. Decision-making clarity. Impulse leads to mistakes. The pause allows assessment, strategy, and foresight. You see the bigger picture before committing energy. Influence through restraint. Your silence speaks volumes. Your calm communicates strength. Your inner pause sets the standard for how others behave. Pause internally, lead externally. The inner pause is not avoidance. It is not weakness. It is discipline in motion. It says, I control myself. I control my environment. I choose my actions deliberately. Pause internally, lead externally. Think about high-pressure situations, negotiations, conflicts, critical decisions. The reactive leader rushes. They speak too much. They overcommit. The unreactive leader pauses. They absorb. They assess. They respond only when it strengthens position and purpose. Pause internally, lead externally. You have a choice. Move impulsively or anchor your energy. React immediately or delay strategically. Seek to prove or wait to guide. Pause internally, lead externally. The inner pause is a signal. It tells your team, your peers, and your opponents, you are not controlling me. I am not controlled. I act with intent, not reaction. Pause internally, lead externally. Every leader has moments that test composure, moments of provocation, moments of tension, moments of uncertainty. The difference is how you respond. Immediate action is predictable. The deliberate pause is unpredictable. The deliberate pause is powerful. Pause internally, lead externally. Practical steps to master the inner pause. Breathe before responding. Simple, conscious breathing delays reaction. Count silently. 1, 2, 3. Let the mind catch up to the situation. Observe the environment. Assess tone, energy, and intention before acting. Anchor in principle. Your choices reflect your discipline, not the chaos around you. Pause internally, lead externally. You don't need to respond first. You don't need to explain immediately. You don't need permission to remain grounded. Pause internally, lead externally. Every pause you take reinforces your authority. Every moment of measured silence communicates discipline. Every intentional action teaches influence without force. Pause internally, lead externally. You have a choice. Move impulsively or anchor your energy. React immediately or delay strategically. Seek to prove or wait to guide. Pause internally, lead externally. The inner pause is a signal. It tells your team, your peers, and your opponents, you are not controlling me. I am not controlled. I act with intent, not reaction. Pause internally, lead externally. When mastered, your calm sets the standard. Your timing becomes strategic. Your authority becomes undeniable. Pause internally, lead externally.
Most leaders wait for circumstances to dictate their behavior. Most leaders react to crises, criticism, or chaos. Most leaders believe influence comes from response. Wrong. You are the standard. That's the key. You have a choice. React to the environment or shape it. Chase validation or embody authority. Let others set the tone or set it yourself. You are the standard. When you lead reactively, you hand control away. You teach others how to behave around you. You allow chaos to define your authority. You are the standard. The unreactive leader does not wait. They set expectations through presence. They establish emotional norms through consistency. They communicate influence before a word is spoken.
You are the standard. Think about it. Meetings, negotiations, team interactions, everything becomes a test. The reactive leader is a mirror. They reflect the mood of the room. The unreactive leader is an anchor. They set the mood of the room. You are the standard. You have a choice. Mirror the chaos or create calm. React to provocation or teach composure. Explain endlessly or exemplify clarity silently. You are the standard. Here's what setting the standard looks like in practice. Behavioral consistency. Your team knows what to expect from you. Consistency builds trust. Trust is authority. Emotional regulation. Your energy is steady even under pressure. Others adjust to your calm, not your anxiety. Your influence becomes inevitable. Nonverbal communication. Your posture, gaze, and expression dictate perception. You lead without speaking. Your presence teaches more than words ever could. You are the standard. The key is not control through force, it is influence through discipline. Every choice you make reinforces the tone you want to establish. Every pause, every measured response, every calm action is a signal. This is the standard. You are the standard. Most people react to events. Most people argue, explain, or overcompensate. Most people let emotion dictate their next move. You don't need to be most people. You are the standard. Repetition is your tool. Pause before responding. Observe before judging. Act with intent, not impulse. You are the standard. When you embody this principle, you become the reference point. Colleagues, competitors, and teams adjust their behavior to match your tone. They follow the rhythm you create. They respect the authority you demonstrate without demanding it. You are the standard. You have a choice. Hand over control or anchor it within. React impulsively or respond with discipline. Chase validation or trust your presence to communicate influence. You are the standard. Your influence is no longer situational. Your authority is no longer dependent on circumstances. You dictate the tempo, the mood, the energy. You are the standard. To practice this daily, begin with presence. Center yourself before entering any interaction. Anchor in principle. Let values, not reactions, guide your behavior. Measure your responses. Speak and act deliberately, only when necessary. Observe impact. Notice how calm presence changes behavior around you. You are the standard. Remember, it's not about forcing respect, it's about being worthy of it. It's not about reacting, it's about responding with mastery. It's not about being heard, it's about being felt. You are the standard. Every conversation, every decision, every challenge becomes an opportunity to reinforce your influence. Every pause, every calm action, every deliberate choice strengthens your authority. Every moment of unshakable presence becomes the reference point for others. You are the standard. You have a choice. React or anchor. Chase recognition or set it silently. Defend ego or embody mastery. You are the standard. The world will adjust to you. Your team will follow your lead. Your influence will extend without words. Your authority will be undeniable. You are the standard. Step into it. Own it. Live it. And never forget, leadership begins where reaction ends. Closing. The unreactive leader does not prove, explain, or dominate. The unreactive leader commands through presence, patience, and discipline. The unreactive leader leaves influence, not chaos. You have a choice. React
or lead, chase applause or anchor authority, defend ego or embody mastery. You are the standard. The world will adjust to you. Your team will follow your lead. Your influence will extend without words. Your authority will be undeniable. You are the standard. Step into it. Own it. Live it. And never forget, leadership begins where reaction ends.
You now understand this truth. Leadership is not volume. It is not emotion. It is not reaction. It is restraint. It is composure. It is the ability to remain still while others lose control. From this moment forward, stop reacting. Stop explaining. Stop chasing validation through noise. Be the calm presence. Be the emotional anchor. Be the person whose silence changes behavior. Your challenge is simple. The next time you are tested, pause. Hold your face. Hold your voice. Hold your power. Because the unreactive leader is the one everyone follows without being told.